Well, sometimes you can be wrong. And I think I was a little bit wrong about the Floyd Rose FRX. The last time we went in depth on this, I had a lot of very bad things to say about it. I didn't pull any punches. I hated the instructions. I thought the products felt clunky, breakable, didn't work very well, wasn't impressed at all with it, and just had a lot of negative things to say. And the video was a lot more successful than I expected, and I got a lot of feedback from you. And you guys had a lot of things to say about, how I had installed it, or I wasn't using it right, or this, that, and the other. And I read every single one of those comments, every single one. And I decided, what might be fun is if we did a live stream where I install it in real time on another guitar. So I did. I installed it on the Epiphone Les Paul Studio that I have. And it worked. Because I didn't use the instructions, I winged it, and I used my knowledge on Floyd Rose's tremolos and guitar stuff and just did my own way, and it worked. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, maybe I was wrong about this product. Maybe it was just the guitar that was the problem last time, not the Floyd Rose FRX. And then I thought, what if it's not the guitar? What if it was me? So I decided to reinstall it on this guitar that we originally tried to install it on in the first video, taking into account a lot of the tips and things that people had said and the success that I had with the Les Paul Studio. In doing so, I found out a couple of things about this product, and I did video that process of how to install it. So I will be releasing that next week, probably. My way of doing it that works, sort of. But it exposed some things about the product, some things that I was wrong about, but then there are some things I was right about. So we're going to go over all of that in this video. We're also going to talk about my final recommendation on this product after having a semi-working version of it. So first, let's play it for a minute, just so that you can hear how it sounds and how well it stays in tune. So right now it's in tune. So that's with my Blue Voodoo 60 and a Tube Screamer and a DS1 and a vintage phaser and a bunch of crap. But it sounds like a Floyd Rose. And after all that, it's in tune. So I installed it correctly this time. I have many issues with it still, and they exposed themselves in the process of installing this product. So one of the first things I want to mention, and it's probably the most annoying thing about this trem, and probably in my opinion the worst thing about this trem. So the way this trem is designed is there's this spring. We talked about this like multiple times already, but see this spring and there's this black bar? That black bar sits underneath the trem plate. And it comes down at a downward angle, and then it goes over to the spring, kind of like this. The problem with that is you can't get the action low enough because it hangs down underneath the trem. The whole point of this is that it's a top-mounted system, right? But the spring arm sits below the system. So you've got to give it a lot. I mean, it may be a couple of millimeters, but that's a lot when you're talking about guitar action. This guitar had the lowest action of any guitar I've ever owned in my entire life. And I can't get it low enough for my liking because of the way it's designed. Okay? This is a place where other styles of trims have got it right. I'm going to get up real quick and grab one of them right now. This one right here. This is the Washburn Wonder Bar. Okay? Look at the bottom. See how the bottom is completely flat? So that allows you to set it on the guitar, and then you adjust your action by adjusting the saddles, and then you're good. They had it right on this one. Floyd has it wrong on this one big time. You should be able to use this plate and set it flat on the guitar. That should be the whole point of this system. But for some reason, they decided to have the spring arm jut down below the plate, so I can't get the action low enough. Major problem. Some would say that's a gripe. I wouldn't, because you're using a Floyd Rose, so you're shredding, generally speaking. And if you're shredding, most shredders like super low action. And it's very hard to get super low action on a Les Paul style guitar when it's designed that way. On my Les Paul Studio, I was able to get it as low as I wanted it. Probably because the cut of the maple cap was slightly different or something, because it was a studio. This is a standard. And you would think that the standard would be more compatible with this system because, you know, it's a standard. It's not a studio, it's a standard. Same dimensions as a Gibson. And so that's really disappointing. That's the first major problem that I came across while setting this thing up. It's not possible for that bar not to contact the body and have low action at the same time on this model. So if you have an Epiphone Les Paul Standard, I'm sorry to say that you're probably not going to get your action as low as you like it because of that. There was a guy in the video that I made about this where I was complaining about it, where he said he had to route out part of his SG body to fit this on there and get the action as low as he likes. That's not acceptable at all when this is marketed as two shredders, because the Floyd Rose, but you can't have your action as low as you want without routing your body. It's supposed to be a toolless, modless installation. What the hell is that? So that's the first major issue I have with it. The second major issue is the instructions, again. Unforgivably bad instructions. Unforgivably bad instructions. When I winged it and used my intuition and totally ignored Floyd Rose, the first time I did this, I didn't ignore him. I followed his instructions, and then if I found a problem, I just did my own thing. And that caused it to be terribly installed. This time, I just ignored everything. I did it all my own way. I looked at it objectively. As a guitar player and a guy who works on guitars and Floyd Rose systems, I just used my logic and my reason, and I did it myself, and now it's staying in tune and it works. So that's the second major issue, is the installation. The third major issue is this. So it's very hard to see, but if you look at the FRX text, see where it says FRX? Down below it, so down on your screen right now, below where it says FRX, see that little hole? Inside that little hole, it comes factory with this little plastic, it's a plastic screw, which, what the hell is that? Why is it plastic? And it has a round ball on top of it. And the purpose of that is, so from what I understand, because the instructions are so god-awful, I don't know the truth, but it says it allows a floating trim to return to zero more easily when you use it. So, you know, you push it down, you push it up, whatever, it goes back to zero more easily. Anybody who's setting up an FRX is good enough to properly float it without needing an extra crappy piece of plastic, first of all. Second of all, that crappy piece of plastic is what was causing that awful sound. If you remember in the first video, how I was using the trim and it was making that horrible creaking and clicking sound, it's that plastic ball. I don't know how it works, but somehow it forces the trim to return back to like a 0 point. And it just adds noise. And so I took that out, and now the trim doesn't, it feels totally different. Remember I said it felt breakable before, like it was going to fly off the guitar? It doesn't feel like that now. It was making that clicking and rattling and clanking sound because of that little plastic piece trying to correct it. When I removed it, now it's super smooth. It's super smooth. It feels pretty good to use. I don't have any issues with how it feels now. That's the other issue with it. And then Two other things I really want to talk about here, about what I don't like about this still, that are still major issues. This nut situation is the dumbest thing. I don't understand. So this nut is not a nut. It's a nut locker. It goes behind your existing nut, it locks the string, and then the string still has to go in your regular nut. Why? Why couldn't this just extend down a little bit more and become your nut, replace this one? That would have made a hell of a lot more sense and would have worked a hell of a lot better. Someone in the last video suggested, oh, you're supposed to use that as your nut. It's not advertised that you can do that, but you should. And it turns out you can't, because this nut doesn't have string guides on it. It's just a flat piece of metal coming out the bottom of the block. So you have to use your existing nut so that you can slot the strings where they go. How dumb is that? So you almost don't even need this. I installed this for aesthetic reasons only. When I did the live stream with the studio, I didn't even install the locking nut lock. I just used the existing nut that was on there and it was fine. So you don't need to install that. I did it for aesthetic reasons because I already drilled the holes in my first installation and I don't like seeing a hole up in my headstock, so I went ahead and just put this nut on there, okay? And then the last thing that I want to touch on right now about this is the fact that it still has that problem where when you pull up, it makes the strings go sharp. So right now, it's in tune. Now when I pull up, it may not sound like it to you, but it is slightly sharper. I'm hoping you can hear that. When I pull it up, it goes sharper. And it's maybe a quarter of a step sharp, though. It's not like a whole step sharp, which is what it was doing the first time we tried this. So that's unacceptable to me. And when I inspected it closer, the knife edges are just made of crappy metal. That's what it comes down to. It's the knife edges. So this system sits on this post here and this post here. And the knife edges in this top plate are just not made very well. They're pitted and I had to file them down, and that's why it's not an entire step off now. It's like a quarter of a step off because I filed them down. So, and then one last thing I guess I'll mention is that one of my friends in the guitar business told me that he tried these on some of his guitars. He owns a guitar company, and he sells guitars and markets them and stuff. He told me that he had an FRX, and he said he had to sit there and do this with it like 350 times or something, and then it finally worked. And would you know that he's right? I recommend doing that. It helped a lot with the tuning stability. So, there you go. What do I think now after all of this? Well, I said it at the very beginning of this video. I was wrong. I will admit I was wrong. When I'm wrong, I will admit it. The FRX instructions are bad. I'm not going to say the *T word because I said that many times in the last video and it demonetized the video. So I guess I'm not allowed to be honest on YouTube anymore, but it's not totally and completely and utterly garbage, like I said before. The instructions are. The support is. Browsing various guitar-related forums, people were having issues with these, of any type that you have with any product. I mean, you're going to have an issue. You might have an issue with your pliers. You might have an issue with your wireless system. You have issues with stuff. It's normal. So any number of issues they might have had with the FRX, whether it was by design or just a flaw. And they were getting like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months to get a response from Floyd. So that's bad, okay? But everybody had bad things to say about it. So Floyd Rose as a company in itself, I stand by what I said before. Don't support the existing Floyd Rose company. Don't do it. All the stuff they make, some of it is okay, I guess, but it's not worth it. I mean, you have a chance of getting a really bad dud with no support, and that's not good. You're better off just buying an older one, a used one, you know? Like one from the 80s or 90s. So it's going to cost you about the same price as what a new one costs today, especially when the Floyd Rose FRX is like $400 now for certain colors. But the product itself, it does what it advertises. Is the action as low as you want it? No. Can you effortlessly float it and go up and down with 0 issues? No. And that was true on the Studio as well. And it was because of the knife edges. Is it easy to install? No. Do the instructions make sense? No. I made a video on how to do this. It's going to come out next week. If you want to do this and buy one, the link is in the description, and the instructions for that will be coming out next week for you to follow if you want to do it my way. But all of that being said, it ended up back on this guitar. All of that being said, I think I'm going to leave it on this guitar for one reason. And the one reason is that you can do that on your existing Les Paul. That's a good enough reason for me, okay? I couldn't even do that before when we did that first video, and that was why I hated it so much. But it was because the instructions were horrendous, and there were things about it that they didn't tell you. You had no way to know. And so the trial and error, I refuse to be defeated by a product. I refuse, especially when you find out that you can't return it and they offer you a $30 credit in lieu of a return. Like, what the heck is that? That's barely 10% of what the thing costs. Anyway, I said, I'm stuck with it. I'm going to make it work. So that's why I did the live stream last night. And that is why I tried to install it again. And that's why I'm making this video now. It's not as bad as I thought. It does work. I am keeping it on this guitar. It makes this the ultimate guitar. I mean, it's got 3 humbuckers and an FRX, and it's just completely and totally ridiculous. And I like ridiculous things. I'm running it through a Blue Voodoo, for God's sake. I like ridiculous things. I'm running it through an Marshall MG 412 cab. I like stupid things. I mean, this guitar sitting next to it is a trash guitar I made from trash parts. I like that kind of stuff. So maybe it's not your cup of tea, but I'll say it one more time. If you want to be able to do that kind of stuff on your existing guitar, it's worth it. It really is. If you can afford it, and you would rather not just buy another guitar, because I said before, you could just buy a guitar with a Floyd on it for the price it costs to buy one of these things. You can do that, and you should do that. Again, the use case for this is ultra specific. Not only is it for people who want to do it to their Les Paul or their SG, it's for people who specifically want it to be on that Les Paul and that SG, which is what I did here. I wanted it on a 3 humbucker guitar. I can't buy a 3 humbucker Les Paul with a Floyd Rose. That's why I put it on here. Maybe you've got one that is really important to you and you want to put a Floyd Rose on it and you have the money, you can afford to do this mod. Then it's for you. Go ahead and do it. Follow my instructions. But make sure when you buy this, you buy it from a place you can return it to. Okay? That link in the description is to Amazon. You can return it there, no problem. So there you go. That's what I think about the Floyd Rose FRX now after sort of getting it working. Do I recommend it? Yes, if your use case is you want to put a Floyd Rose on your specific guitar and you don't want to buy another guitar. And money doesn't matter to you. Those are the things. So, there you go. I'm going to release instructions on how to install this thing next week, so look out for that. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all of you. Please like and subscribe. Join the Discord. Link is in the description below. If you don't want to wait on installing this thing and you want some help along the way, join the Discord and ask. There are many of us in there willing to help you on that and anything else you might want to know. So, there you go. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate all of you. See you next time, and keep on rocking.